Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time. This is the second annual event, the Greenwich Economic Forum, in conjunction with the Financial Times. I think it's safe to say this was epic in its simplicity and scope. Some of the most sophisticated content I think any of us have seen in a very long time, short of the World Economic Forum itself. Some people are pointing to this mini WEF. Right? Everybody here has had a major part in the development of it, and let's talk about some of the highlights and some of the fun parts, some of the ups and downs. Peter, you're the longest-standing mayor in Greenwich, Connecticut. You were part of the inception of this, from the approval process and from the development side. When these guys came to you with the idea, what were your initial thoughts?
I thought it was a brilliant idea. I think it showed an entrepreneurial spirit to want to harness the talent that exists in our area and showcase it. And both Bruce and Jim really put a tremendous amount of energy into conceptualizing it. And jointly, we were able to convince Mr. Dalio to get behind it, and I think it just blossomed from there. So it's a signature event that I really think puts Greenwich on a global stage and reinforces Greenwich as a brand, as a community, as a lifestyle, and will certainly reap dividends for the town in years to come.
And I'll add into it. We have to actually give credit to Bruce McGuire. Bruce is the head of the Connecticut Hedge Fund Association and did a similar event to this, very, very similar at a different venue, and also in Greenwich back before the crash. Back in 2007, he did it for a couple of times, and they were quite successful. For various reasons, they stopped. He said we should think about doing it even in a more significant way with some of the real founding sort of thought leaders in the alternative space. And of course, we immediately thought of Ray Dalio and Paul Jones and others, and we said, but we're going to need to engage them, and who better to do that than Peter, who knows Ray fairly well, but it was your suggestion in one of our meetings.
Yes, and I would add to that one of the elements that was missing in the first edition of this event, which is now the Greenwich Economic Forum, was the close connection to the town itself. So the town really wasn't engaged in the first project, and we knew that was something that needed to happen if this was really going to take off. And so proposing this idea to Peter and having Peter and Jim be receptive to the concept and really buy into it and really put a lot of gravitas behind it made all the difference.
Well, I'm going to get to this event. I'm kind of curious about when you guys first came up with the idea and you put your heads together thinking we can do this. What sparked that idea? I mean, what was the glue that started to form the event before it even got here?
Well, Greenwich, Connecticut is known as the hedge fund capital of the world, right? So we knew we had all this talent living amongst us and then close by in New York City. And we also know that a lot of us get on jets and we fly off to places like Davos, Switzerland. We fly to Miami, Florida, or out to Las Vegas for conferences. And we thought, if they can do it, we can do it here. And in fact, we could save ourselves a lot of travel T&E.
Right. So year one happened. You got through it. Year two, you decided to partner with Simon in the Financial Times. What was the difference between year one and year two?
There was a stark difference. This one being considerably better than the previous experience, and I would say at the highest level, we really wanted to professionalize the entire process. And the FT, as Simon had said earlier, 200 events a year, and the quality standard is exceptional. We also wanted somebody that we're running a global conference, and we have just for various reasons great connections to China. We don't have that great of connections outside of China, especially to Europe. The FT brings a whole European perspective, not only with people that we can bring on stage for speakers and so forth, but even just the moderators. And they were very generous in bringing people like Jillian Tett and Billy Nauman and Hannah for the healthcare panel. And we had some, the level, the quality, and the the experience that the FT offers is really exceptional.
Simon, so you were tasked to step it up this year.
Yeah. So just a bit of background about how it all came about. So Bruce contacted me, it would have been about 18 months ago for the first time, right? Through through our hedge fund correspondent, Lindsay. And we were chatting, but even before the event happened last year, and I was getting quite excited about the potential. You know, even last year, I could see what they'd managed to achieve in terms of the level of speakers and the focus of the event. It seemed very FT. It seemed like it was the kind of event that we could really get behind. So once the event was over, I think I shot you an email and said, oh, I hope the event went well.
You did.
And then that kind of got things going. And, you know, over the next couple of months, we came to an agreement about how we could work together. And since then, since sort of January, February of this year, you know, we've been working tirelessly to make this event the success that it has ultimately been. And, you know, all credit to Jim and Bruce. They could have done this without us, but I do feel like we have added a certain element that maybe they didn't have last year. I don't want to take anything away from their hard work because, you know, they've done the bulk of the work around the agenda and the amazing speaker roster. But what we've been able to bring is, as Jim alluded to, some of the expertise from our journalists, and also the kind of event management skills that we have because of all the events that we do globally.
It's a very
and the brand, of course.
It's a very entrepreneurial thing to run these conferences, and it takes a wide variety of skill sets and talents and expertise, and that's where you guys have had that great, you know, and doing the 200 conferences a year, and you know, say between Peter and Bruce and I, you know, we have lots of different ideas, but how to actually put those into fruition, you know, how you actually execute those, they're just ideas, and you've helped us, you know, actually execute those, and it's been a real. I think it's been very collaborative.
Yeah,
I'm sure we drove you crazy more than once or twice.
Never.
Really?
No.
Really?
No, that's not true.
Right.
Yeah, you did.
All right, so
yeah, you did.
I was going to say.
Here's the question. Each of you, what gave you the most brain damage in the process? Most brain damage.
Who got the most brain damage?
What gave you the most
what
brain
gave
damage?
us most brain damage?
Jim
Jim and Bruce, especially Jim.
Spreadsheets. Spreadsheets, and so there's lists of speakers, there's lists of sponsors, there's lists of attendees, there are lists of things that need to be done, there are lists of people that are invited to this particular event but not to this event. There are lists of people that we want to invite as guests to the event and lists of people that we want to go out to for paying tickets, and managing all of that is a challenge, but you know, that's what we do. That's what we do.
I'll build on that too. I think part and parcel with that was we were trying to create an ecosystem of LPs, you know, funds.
Yeah.
Sorry, LPs, the investors, and GPs, the funds. And it's not so hard. I mean, it's hard, but it's not so hard to get the funds here, the GPs here, the hedge funds, and the private equity from venture capital, because they're here, right? A lot of them are here, and then they're magnets around the world. But to get the LPs or the asset owners, the pensions and endowments and foundations and sovereign wealth funds, they're all over the world, and they're not concentrated here. So we actually created a committee headed by Jay Madia, whose name I can't say enough because he did such an amazing job.
Yeah, great.
Who's the head of risk assets at Access Capital, and he's devoted, you know, a tremendous amount of time, and he's a peer. He's an LP himself. He's an insurance investor, and so he basically called his network and his networks and said, "Look, this is a special event. Let me give you an opportunity to tell you why." And he helped to, you know, basically double the number of LPs this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible.
But that was, but we have standards around AUM size, and are they allocating to the to this industry actively? And so we had to turn away a number of people that really weren't allocating or were small.
And so that was a process
and
as well.
that
So people applied to come as an LP. And some of the people that applied weren't LPs at all, or if they were, some of them weren't quite fit the criteria.
Identifying the potential world and then reviewing that was a lot of brain damage to go through that.
And I would add to that, and on a different note, it's selling for me. I don't think we're natural salespeople. We are great at building and we're great at branding and marketing, but I think we realized in this process that sales is also a vital part of building an event like this or an entity like this. And
I think you did pretty well considering.
Yeah, I think we did pretty well. That was the most challenging thing, from my perspective. Yeah. And at some point, I think you feel like I've done my job. I put the best content that I could think to put up here on stage. This should sell itself. And I think the reality is that
nothing sells itself.
Nothing sells itself.
Yeah, you've got to tee it up the right way.
How about from the city?
Frankly, it was an easy endeavor because
They took all the punishment.
they did. I think if there was any challenge that presented itself is that there were so many people who wanted to participate or attend, but not recognizing the economies of putting on such an event, and that you need to have a sponsorship or entry to partake because of the risk associated with hosting something like this. So the overall ease, though, of promoting it was a breeze because it drew so much attention, so much interest.
You had all the intellectual property in the town. Greenwich is a very unique place. I don't know many other cities that could put something like this on. I mean, obviously New York and others, but the intimacy here was quite incredible. All right, let's go the other way. Biggest oops.
Biggest oops.
Biggest oops.
Well, not hiring the FT for sure. We won't go into
That's
details.
last year. Yeah.
That's one. That's the easy one for last year.
Biggest oops. It's not there. I think the quality speaks for itself. And you were here. You witnessed this. I don't think there was anything that significantly went wrong for us. There were some things that we learned, things that we could do better. I think we could do better helping our delegates interact with each other. Something as simple as having an app so that they can find each other and meet with each other more efficiently. That's something that we'll add next year.
I have a small, funny one. It wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now. Underestimating how long it would take to stuff 400 delegate bags full of maybe 50. I can't remember how many inserts there were.
How many?
But there were, no, there weren't 50 inserts. No, there were like 15. But
okay, 15 starts a lot.
Yeah, and not having the space to do it because this room was full of chairs. So that was interesting. It's a small thing, but it took longer than we anticipated.
All right, let's go highs. Let's pendulum swing this. Best moments.
The presentation, some of the presentations.
Yeah, I thought they were just
exceptional.
fabulous.
Having Ray Dalio and Paul Tudor Jones together on stage in conversation was a home run for us. Yeah. And it really showcases what Greenwich is all about and what this.
But the momentum carried on after that, like really high quality content and presentation.
And this morning with Mohammed El Arian, who
I thought that was fabulous
while
too.
he is out in the public space a fair amount, to have him here and have that interaction. He's also a very important advisor to a Greenwich-based fund, and to see the dynamics between Robert and Mohammed, and he's a brilliant guy. And we don't have a lot of economists. We're a little bit more on the the very senior LPs, the senior GPs themselves, not necessarily the economists. He brings that whole perspective, which is very quantitative, which was, I think, a great, very, very grounding for the day.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of theory. There was a lot of use case applications, and that was much different than any conference I've been to. You see a lot of people advocating for an idea or a use case, a potential use case.
Earlier, right?
But everything here was tangible. Everybody had actually something to say from a vantage point that most people are looking to aspire to, and I thought that was inspiring.
I agree.
Talk about your questions at the end there. You had people discuss.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where those questions came from.
Right.
I deliberately chose them because I thought they'd get a positive answer.
We can cut that. You can cut that part out of the.
But no, seriously, the questions came from a the fact that I was inspired, and that I felt like I could walk away from this conference able to do my job better, feeling more confident about my understanding of the investment world, but also the world more generally. I thought there were so many presentations that really lent themselves to a perspective on where the world is right now and how business needs to respond, rather than getting down too much in the weeds on tactics. So I thought it was fascinating.
I thought it was also exciting. We had a number of sponsors who were the lifeblood of being able to put on something like this, who came up and said they had an incredible experience.
Right.
They got a lot out of it. I had no idea. That to me is a big highlight, to be able to get that kind of feedback as well.
Yeah.
All right, I tell you what, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna two more questions. Actually, we'll start with this one. 2 words to describe what it takes to pull off an event like this. Simon.
A great team.
Luck and skill.
Dedication, ingenuity.
Stamina and more stamina.
Those are good. Last question. Something you'd like to see next year that you didn't have this year. Simon?
A networking app.
More interaction. We have these meeting suites. We only did really 2 of them. I think those were very beneficial for people. It's a dense space here to have more of those. Be good.
Peter?
Perhaps an expansion bringing in art and entertainment.
And I would say, I agree that I think we did a great job of putting together an ecosystem of managers and investors. So we put the buyers and sellers together. I think we need to do a better job of helping them to connect. And I think that's something that we can easily do. There are models that we can look to. So that's number 1. And then number 2, there was a lot of talk about government. And I think having some senior policy officials, not just from the United States, but from around the world, coming here to this event would also be very additive.
Very smart. Well, gentlemen, FT, Greenwich Economic Forum, congratulations on this excellent event. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh, we got
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Got to fill that up.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And thanks for you raising your
Thank you
head
for your time.
and
Yeah.
letting us know you exist.
Well, you know what? We're proud to be part of it, and we can't wait for all the content.
Yeah,
to hit.
can't wait to look
Being
at
a
all the
great
content.
addition to the event.
That's it, guys.
All right, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
The 2019 Greenwich Economic Forum is brought to you by Bridgewater Associates. Meaningful work, meaningful relationships. Churchill Asset Management, Nuveen, a leading provider of senior and unitranche debt to middle market companies. Ropes and Gray, bright past, brilliant future. Aurora Capital, inspiring partnerships. And Gramercy Funds Management, we are emerging markets. Special considerations to Bank of America, life's better when we're connected. Noah Private Wealth Management, a leading wealth and asset management service provider in China. Guotai Jinan Futures, a leading brokerage firm for commodity futures and financial futures in China. China Industrial Securities, a comprehensive financial group providing full spectrum financial services in Hong Kong. And Titan Advisors, built like a hedge fund. Special thanks to the Financial Times and Greenwich Business Institute for hosting us. And thank you to all the sponsors who helped make this event possible. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.